Okay. She deletes 126 Instagram posts. By no means a little. That is according to Social.
If Erika Kirk wasn't removed from Charlie Kirk's will days before he was unalived, then where are Charlie Kirk's parents in all of this? Because if Erika Kirk wasn't sweating up the sheets with somebody like the couch humper Vance, and she was supposed to be a part of this family, then why isn't the family at the funeral or any of these Turning Point USA events?
USA. Insiders have reportedly been buzzing about a possible reason behind the sudden disappearance of many of Charlie's older podcast episodes. According to people familiar with the situation, some believe Erika Kirk may have quietly removed the archived shows because they were still generating income that could also reach Charlie's parents. Those older recordings included interviews, commentary, and sponsored segments connected directly to Charlie's platform. That meant every stream, replay, and late-night listen was still creating revenue behind the scenes. Sources close to the situation say that part of the revenue structure may have included financial participation tied to Charlie's family. So when the episodes suddenly vanished, that ongoing flow of income may have disappeared as well. What raised even more eyebrows for longtime followers was the timing. The removals did not appear to happen during a major rebrand, platform upgrade, or official announcement from USA. Instead, the changes surfaced during a period when tensions between Erika and Charlie's family were already rumored to be growing quietly behind the scenes. Because of that timing, online observers quickly began asking serious questions. Some people believe the move could have been a strategic decision linked to ongoing disagreements. Others argue there might be legal or contractual factors that simply have not been explained publicly yet. Either way, speculation has continued to build as people try to understand why such a massive archive would suddenly disappear without a clear explanation. Before diving into what might have been discussed inside those missing episodes,
we're noticing that Erika Kirk might have removed the wedding photo that was on Charlie Kirk's bookshelf. Also looks like she replaced it with some sort of scroll, and also noticed that she isn't wearing her wedding ring.
Many followers of the story point to another key detail: the timeline itself. It did not take long for listeners to notice something unusual happening across multiple platforms. Roughly a month after Charlie's passing, fans began reporting that older episodes of his show were becoming harder to find online. At first, the changes were subtle. A few listeners noticed certain episodes disappearing from Spotify. Soon after, others reported missing uploads on Apple Podcasts. Then people searching YouTube began realizing entire playlists of Charlie's earlier conversations had quietly vanished as well. Within days, fans who had saved those episodes in their apps suddenly discovered they could no longer access them. That rapid shift sparked immediate curiosity across online communities. For years, Charlie's podcast library had grown into hundreds of hours of interviews, discussions, and commentary. It represented a huge part of his public voice and the platform he spent years building. Archives of that size rarely vanish overnight without some kind of explanation. Naturally, people began wondering who made the decision and why. Removing such a large amount of archived content would almost certainly require approval from someone with control over the accounts or the organization's media assets. And because the removals seemed to happen so quickly across several streaming services, many observers believe the action likely came from a coordinated internal decision. That is why the questions have continued to grow louder. Some supporters believe the organization may have wanted to simplify its content library or remove older material for brand or legal reasons. Others suspect the situation could be connected to family disagreements that had already surfaced publicly in other parts of the story. What keeps the debate alive is how sudden the entire situation felt to longtime listeners. One day, the episodes were available across major streaming platforms. The next day,
here is that wedding photo behind him.
Looking down, it's not because I'm not wanting to look at you. It's because there are so many treasures in here.
They were gone, leaving fans searching through reposts, archives, and third-party uploads trying to figure out exactly what disappeared. For people who had followed Charlie's show for years, those missing episodes represented more than just audio files. They included conversations with guests, reactions to major events, and moments that helped define his public presence. Losing access to that history so abruptly left many wondering whether the removal was temporary or something more permanent, and that brings the conversation back to the central question still circulating online. If the archive removal was intentional, what was the real motivation behind it? Was it part of a legal process, a brand shift, or something connected to financial arrangements that outsiders simply do not fully understand yet? At this point, there has been no detailed public explanation addressing every aspect of the removals. That lack of clarity is exactly what keeps the discussion alive. Until a clear answer appears, observers will likely continue examining the timeline, the financial questions, and the sudden disappearance of years of content that once shaped Charlie's digital presence. One of the first public figures to raise questions about the missing episodes was Candace Owens. She directed attention toward Erika in a message that quickly spread across social media. According to Candace, one of Erika's early actions after stepping into the CEO role was the removal of many Charlie Kirk Show episodes from major platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. What made the situation stand out to many observers was the timing. The changes reportedly happened less than 6 weeks after the tragic incident that ended Charlie's life, which made the sudden disappearance of his content feel even more unusual to longtime listeners. But that was only the beginning of the confusion. Fans of TPUSA reportedly began sending emails asking why so many episodes of The Charlie Kirk Show had suddenly disappeared.
If this really is your first time in his office, the first time looking down at his desk, who moved the frame behind his head?
In response, one staff member reportedly explained that the situation might simply be related to how streaming platforms sometimes manage extremely large show archives. According to that explanation, programs with very high episode counts can occasionally experience removals or adjustments as part of routine platform maintenance. However, many followers of the story felt that explanation raised even more questions. Streaming services rarely remove huge archives of content without some form of internal reason. Changes of that size often happen when contracts shift, ownership rights change, or an organization requests the adjustment directly. Even more unusual was the fact that multiple platforms appeared to remove episodes around the same time. Because of that, the discussion started shifting toward another question entirely. Instead of focusing only on why the episodes disappeared, people began wondering who had the most influence over Charlie's digital voice after he was gone. Controlling that archive would mean controlling hundreds of hours of conversations, interviews, and commentary that shaped his public message. In many online conversations, one name kept appearing again and again: Erika Kirk. Some critics suggested that whoever manages the archive could influence how Charlie's legacy is remembered in the future. Others pushed back against that idea, arguing that the removals might simply be connected to internal restructuring or legal considerations that have not yet been fully explained publicly. Before examining those possible motives further, observers also started paying attention to something else unfolding during the same period: Erika's relationship with Charlie's family. According to people who have followed the situation closely, the dynamic between Erika and Charlie's relatives appeared to shift after his passing. Some followers noticed that Erika was rarely seen publicly with Charlie's parents during the time when the family was grieving. Of course, many families choose to handle difficult moments privately and away from public attention. But when a public figure is involved, even small moments often get captured by cameras or media outlets. Yet observers say there were very few public appearances showing Erika and Charlie's family together during that period.
I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy.
Instead, many of the photos circulating online showed Erika attending public events, meeting with political figures, or appearing alongside friends and colleagues. That contrast led some online commentators to speculate that distance may have been growing between Erika and Charlie's parents behind the scenes. The conversation intensified even more when people began discussing several public ceremonies organized to honor Charlie's legacy. According to reports shared among supporters, Charlie's parents were not seen at one memorial event connected to him. At another gathering recognizing his contributions, observers noticed that Erika appeared alongside close friends and colleagues rather than standing directly beside Charlie's family. For many people following the story from the outside, those moments quickly raised questions about whether private tensions may have already been forming. Behind the scenes, once again, there has been no single public explanation that clearly outlines what happened during those events. Without that clarity, speculation has continued to spread as people analyze every detail of the timeline. Another subject that sparked intense discussion involved Charlie's children. During the years when Charlie was still alive, many supporters believed his parents shared a close and meaningful relationship with their grandchildren. According to individuals familiar with the family dynamic, Charlie made a point of keeping his relatives involved in the children's lives during that period. However, some insiders later suggested that access to the children reportedly became far more limited after Charlie's passing. These reports claim that Erika may have introduced stricter boundaries surrounding visits and communication. According to those accounts, household staff were allegedly given instructions that visits from Charlie's relatives would require advance approval before they could take place. If those claims are accurate, it would mean fewer spontaneous visits, fewer casual family gatherings, and a much more structured process for contact. Supporters of Erika say boundaries like that could simply reflect a parent protecting privacy during an extremely emotional and difficult time. Others interpret the situation differently and believe it may reflect deeper disagreements within the family. Even phone contact between the children and Charlie's parents was said by some observers to have become less frequent. Without official confirmation from every person involved, many of these details remain part of an ongoing conversation rather than fully verified facts. Still, the reports have continued to shape the broader narrative that the relationship between Erika and Charlie's family may have become strained. Despite all of these personal tensions, many critics believe the most revealing part of the situation may involve financial decisions connected to Charlie's estate. Observers who study public figures and legacy management often note that financial choices made after a major loss can reveal deeper priorities. Control over intellectual property, archived media, and revenue streams can strongly influence how a public legacy evolves. Because of that, some commentators argue that decisions involving Charlie's podcast archive and digital content may hold important clues. If those archives previously generated income connected to multiple parties, removing or restructuring them could potentially shift who benefits from the content going forward. For critics who view the situation with skepticism, those financial moves appear connected to broader questions about influence and control. For supporters who defend Erika's leadership, the same decisions could simply represent normal management adjustments following a major transition within a large organization. At this stage, the complete picture is still unclear. What is certain is that the disappearance of Charlie's episodes, the shifting public appearances, and the ongoing discussion about family access have combined to create a complicated story that continues to develop. As new details appear, people across the conversation remain focused on what the next chapter might reveal. Erika did not only inherit a last name and the emotional weight that followed Charlie's passing, she also stepped into a powerful leadership position and a significant financial structure that had already grown around his work. When Charlie was still active, he had built a strong organization with a massive following. And after he was gone, much of that responsibility and influence shifted directly into Erika's hands. Reports circulating among observers suggest that Charlie's estate was estimated to be around $10 million. In addition to that figure, Erika reportedly received several $million after the sale of their home not long after. The tragic incident that changed everything. Supporters say those choices may simply reflect normal financial steps that often happen after a major life transition. But critics point out that the financial activity surrounding the organization appeared to expand quickly in the months that followed. Beyond the estate itself, donations from supporters and sponsors connected to TPUSA reportedly added millions more to the organization's overall resources. Many followers describe those contributions as part of a powerful wave of support that arrived after Charlie's passing. During the same period, Erika stepped into the position of CEO, a role that insiders say comes with a significant annual salary. Estimates discussed by commentators suggest that compensation for that position could approach $500,000 each year. Even before these leadership changes, TPUSA had already grown into a large and influential organization. It had developed a network of student chapters across numerous campuses and even internationally, along with both nonprofit and business divisions operating under the same umbrella. The platform Charlie helped build had become a powerful stage with millions of followers paying attention to its events, messaging, and campaigns. Anyone stepping into that level of leadership would immediately find themselves at the center of a massive spotlight. Some supporters say Erika has simply continued the work Charlie started while expanding the organization's reach. Others believe that after Charlie's passing, the focus shifted more strongly toward fundraising campaigns and merchandise connected to his legacy. Critics often point to one moment that caught the attention of observers early on. Not long after the tragic incident involving Charlie, TPUSA introduced a collection of merchandise connected to his image and message. Supporters described those items as a tribute honoring the influence he had built over the years. But some observers questioned whether the timing felt unusually fast given how recent everything still was. Another decision that sparked conversation online involved an event display recreating the stage setup connected to Charlie's final public appearance. At certain gatherings, visitors were reportedly able to take photos inside that recreated setting. Some attendees viewed the display as a symbolic tribute celebrating Charlie's legacy. Others felt the idea was uncomfortable because it referenced such a difficult moment so closely. Alongside those developments came a series of speaking tours, public appearances, and organized events centered around Charlie's story and the organization's ongoing mission. These gatherings included faith-based conferences and presentations where Erika spoke about grief, leadership, and continuing the movement Charlie helped build. Supporters described these appearances as part of carrying forward his message. Critics interpreted them as another example of how his story remained closely tied to fundraising and public attention. Because of all these developments, some observers believe the removal of Charlie's older podcast episodes may also connect to broader questions about influence and control. In their view, whoever manages the archive ultimately controls how Charlie's message continues to be shared, monetized, and remembered in the long term. Others argue that content management decisions like that could easily involve legal rights, platform policies, or internal restructuring that outside observers simply do not see. The discussion grew louder when fans first realized that certain podcast episodes had quietly disappeared from major platforms. Once listeners began comparing notes online, they noticed that many long-form videos and extended discussions had suddenly become difficult to find. Some people started revisiting Charlie's main channel and official TPU SA pages to understand exactly what had changed. Around that same time, followers also began analyzing details in Erika's own video appearances. In one clip recorded inside the office space, where Charlie used to film content, viewers noticed something different in the background. A wedding photo that had once been visible on a bookshelf in earlier recordings no longer appeared to be there. For some viewers, that detail seemed minor, but for others who had been watching closely, it felt like another subtle shift in the visual story surrounding Charlie's legacy. When online communities study every frame of a video, even a missing photograph can quickly spark intense discussion. Another topic that people began talking about involved Erika's wedding ring. Observers noticed that in several recent appearances, she did not appear to be wearing it. At the same time, her social media accounts still displayed the Mrs. Erika Kirk name connected to Charlie's public identity. That contrast quickly became another point of conversation among followers tracking every development. Soon, the internet filled with reactions from viewers trying to understand the situation. One commenter explained that they decided to investigate personally by reviewing the channels connected to Charlie and the organization. After scanning through the available uploads, the person wrote that it seemed unusual how many longer videos and full discussions were no longer available. Another observer mentioned noticing that a bright red book previously visible in the office background also appeared to be missing in newer footage. According to that commenter, it looked as if parts of the room might have been rearranged or cleared out between recordings. That observation added even more speculation about whether items connected to Charlie's work had been moved, stored, or archived somewhere else. At that point, the conversation shifted once again. For many viewers, the topic was no longer just about missing podcast episodes. Some began wondering whether other personal materials connected to Charlie's life, journals, notes, or documents, might also have been stored away or removed from the office space. The discussion reached another level when reports began circulating about an audio recording from a private gathering. In the recording, Erika was reportedly discussing the financial success of certain TPUSA events organized after Charlie's passing. According to those who heard the clip, she spoke about strong attendance and fundraising results connected to those gatherings, which only added another layer to an already intense conversation. Supporters argued that highlighting strong fundraising results is completely normal for leaders running large organizations. Conferences, public events, and speaking appearances are often designed to support operations and grow the mission. Critics, however, felt the tone of that conversation sounded surprisingly detached, considering the difficult circumstances surrounding Charlie's passing. For many observers, that perceived tone became one of the most emotional elements of the entire situation. Some insiders claim that hearing Charlie discussed in such a straightforward, businesslike way was difficult for certain members of his family. According to people familiar with their perspective, that reaction was especially painful for Charlie's parents. Whether those interpretations are accurate or not, the situation continues to spark heated discussion across social media and online communities. Supporters believe Erika is simply continuing the work and direction of the organization Charlie helped build. critics believe certain choices raise serious questions about how his legacy is now being managed. What remains clear is that every small change is now being analyzed carefully. Missing podcast episodes, subtle differences in video backgrounds, and comments made during events are all being examined frame by frame. In a story where emotion, leadership, and legacy are tightly connected, even the smallest detail can suddenly become the center of a much larger debate. According to critics who have followed the situation closely, the conflict eventually reached a point where many people felt the developments were no longer just about routine management decisions. For Charlie's parents, supporters say the situation felt especially painful. To them, it appeared that connections to their son's public work and memories were slowly disappearing from the places where they once existed. Observers say that is when the conversation began shifting from simple organizational choices to something that felt far more personal. Removing podcast episodes might be explained as a content management decision, but when followers noticed that large portions of Charlie's digital history were disappearing only weeks after the tragic incident, the move started raising deeper questions among longtime listeners. For years, those podcast archives represented a huge part of Charlie's public voice. They contained interviews, conversations, commentary, and moments that helped shape the movement he spent years building. When so much of that material suddenly vanished, many longtime followers felt as if an important piece of that history had quietly been altered. The conversation grew even more emotional when viewers began connecting several different details at the same time. The archived episodes had disappeared. The wedding ring people had once seen Erika wearing was no longer visible during certain appearances, and photographs that had previously appeared in the background of videos also seemed to be missing. Taken individually, each of those changes might not have attracted much attention, but when observers looked at them together, the pattern felt unusual to many people following the story. Online communities began piecing together timelines, screenshots, and older recordings in an effort to understand exactly when those changes occurred. What made the situation even more intense was the belief among critics that Charlie's parents were also becoming increasingly distant from parts of his public legacy. According to some insiders, tensions between Erika and Charlie's family had already been growing behind the scenes. So when the podcast archives disappeared and visual reminders appeared to change as well, many viewers felt those developments might not simply be coincidence. That is why the central question has grown far beyond the missing episodes themselves. The issue now being debated is control. Whoever manages Charlie's digital presence ultimately shapes how his message, his story, and his brand continue moving forward. For supporters of Erika, the explanation is straightforward. They believe that as the leader of the organization and someone deeply connected to Charlie's work, she carries the responsibility of guiding the future of the platform. From that perspective, adjustments to archives, content, or messaging could simply reflect long-term planning for the organization. Critics, however, view the situation from a different angle. They argue that removing large portions of existing material, while reported tensions with Charlie's family were increasing, naturally raises difficult questions. In their view, the changes may have placed full control of Charlie's legacy, including the financial impact connected to it, into the hands of a single decision maker. Right now, the details people continue discussing are simple but powerful. The archives that once contained hundreds of hours of Charlie's voice are no longer widely accessible. Visual reminders of his personal life that once appeared in videos seem to have changed, and leadership of the organization he built now rests entirely under Erika's direction. That combination of developments is what continues fueling the conversation. People are not only asking why the episodes disappeared, they are asking what those decisions mean for the long-term story surrounding Charlie's life and work. Some believe the goal may have been to protect Charlie's legacy from confusion or misuse. Others believe the changes may have ensured that no competing voices could shape the narrative moving forward. Without a detailed public explanation, both interpretations continue circulating among viewers who are trying to understand the full picture. What most people seem to agree on is that Charlie's voice and message carried enormous influence during his lifetime. The content he created helped build a powerful platform that still draws attention today. And when that much history suddenly becomes harder to access, people naturally start asking questions. So the real debate is no longer just about missing podcast files. It is about who ultimately controls the story that remains. Is the archive being reshaped carefully to preserve Charlie's legacy, or are those decisions ensuring that no one else can claim part of it in the future? Until clearer answers emerge, the mystery surrounding those vanished episodes and the broader changes surrounding Charlie's digital presence will likely continue fueling one of the most intense conversations about his legacy. If you've been following this story and have your own thoughts about everything unfolding, make sure to share your perspective in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more updates, and share this with others who are watching the story closely. And stay tuned, because the next video dives even deeper into the details you won't want to miss.